Hello, this is Plastic Kraken, and today we're going to be looking at the Warhammer Reveals from the Adepticon preview show. So first of all then, let's have a little look at the stuff for Warhammer Age of Sigmar in terms of the new models. So here we have Abraxia, Spear of the Ever-Chosen. This is a really, really beautiful model. Uh, Very tempted to get something like this myself, but I really think I've got enough chaos to be getting on with, certainly with something else that we'll be seeing in a minute as well. So I don't actually collect chaos in Age of Sigmar, but I do in 40k. I think there's only so much trim one person can have in their lives before it gets a bit overbearing. But I would love this. This is such a cool model. The lore around this sounds cool as well, with her being Archaon's sort of right-hand woman. Um, And yeah, she's first going to be available, it looks like, in this box set here, along with these dudes, before that's available to pick up just by itself. So sort of similar to what we've seen with the other Dawnbringer boxes. You're first going to get that in here, probably at a bit of a discount if you want these guys as well, compared to buying all that separate. But if you're only interested in this, then you're best just to hold on for now until that's released a little while later by itself. And then they had the new Dawnbringers book as well. They also had this awesome piece of terrain, which just looks amazing. That is definitely tempting, just for how just insanely awesome that looks. So definitely something that would really stand out on any tabletop, I think. Especially, if you're playing Chaos, this is gonna look absolutely awesome. So that was a nice little thing to see as well. Next up then, the old world. So yeah, I don't know. I know some people obviously love the old world. I only really saw it when I was younger, and never really got into it myself. And I'm not really tempted to get into it now, just because the price you're paying for such old models. Personally, I just when I could spend that money on something much newer, I'm gonna get more use out of than this. Now don't get me wrong as well, I love dwarves, but these guys, some of them are fine. Like these guys, perfectly fine, but some of them really do look quite derpy now. Um, and some of this is all resin as well, Forge World resin. Yeah, it's just not for me. I really wish I could say something a bit more positive about this. I'm sure it's very cool for the people that want to get involved, especially if you're interested in the dwarves. But yeah, I just can't get behind it personally. I think if I wanted to play a sort of rank and flank game like this, I'd be much more interested in Mantic's Kings of War than I would the old world. The old world right now is expensive for old models, and those models are hard to get hold of as well. So yeah, I think it's an easy miss for me. Um, then they showed off Warhammer Underworld's Death Gorge. So this has what are they? These guys in here. So uh, yeah, these are an interesting bunch. I think of all of these, this guy is definitely my favorite. I just love the little baldy guy peeping out of there. Um, but yeah, they don't super excite me. I wouldn't be too interested personally. And then we've got some guys from the Flesh Eater Courts. Um, Again, I'm a bit done with Flesh Eating Courts at the moment. They just seem to be everywhere. But these are fine, and if you're into this, great. Um, I hope you're happy with it. But for me, not something I'm super interested in, if I'm honest. Then we come to Warcry. So the Warcry set does actually look pretty good. So we have some Ossiarch Bone Reapers here. So these guys were sort of explained to be sort of outcasts from the main faction. So, they've messed up in some way, and as punishment, they've been sent out into the world to sort of do their own thing. And here we have some of these little dog guys, they look pretty cool. These guys here, I mean, yeah, these guys certainly look interesting. Um, so they're a cool little team. And then we have these guys that sort of like corrupted uh, versions of the Sylvaneth. So we've got this one here with the bees. I wouldn't particularly fancy having to paint all these tiny little bees, but maybe that excites you. I don't know. But yeah, these guys, I mean, for me, they don't look perhaps as corrupted as I would like for some corrupted Sylvaneth. Probably people who've done their own conversions probably take it a step further. But it's something a little different at least, and yeah, two very different teams in there. Um, yeah, that's the sort of thing I like with Warcry as well. Something where you can dip in, dip your toes into a faction, some like the Sylvaneth, that maybe you wouldn't be interested in making a whole army for. But with those boxes, you get a little something, little force to put together, a way to play them. And then if you do find you really like them, maybe you really like painting them or whatever, you can take it from there. But yeah, that's what I like about the skirmish games is it often does give you a chance just to dip into a different faction than you would normally look to collect. Now, this thing for me is the coolest part. Say this sort of like weird tree thing creature with its giant mouth there. So like something that'd be fun, particularly in games, sort of knocking people into that. Uh, and that sort of thing. So yeah, it just looks like something that's really just going to be like you put that out on the table, and if someone hasn't seen that before, yeah, that's going to be a talking point. So yeah, that was really cool to see. I think that was it for that. Yep. 40K. So yeah, spent quite a lot of time on this, considering all it really is two new Chaos Lords. Um, but yeah, so this is the regular Chaos Lord. I think that actually looks pretty awesome. I can forgive the tactical rock here, just because I think this guy does look cool. I particularly like this part here, and he just looks like a bit of a badass standing there. Um, they also show some of the other ways that he can be equipped here. So he is a multi-part kit with a few different options there for how you want to build him, what you want to make him look like. Um, and then you also then have the second one, which is this jump captain. Sorry, Chaos Lord jump pack, I suppose, for Chaos. Um, yeah, like I don't know how I feel about this. I suppose it to me he kind of looks a bit like he's just floating there rather than like he's sort of like taking off or anything. Um, so he's all right. But yeah, mixed feelings, mixed feelings. I do like the lightning claws on this guy. That looks very cool. Um, and yeah, another codex where might easily be mistaken for the last one, I think. It's not super different. But yeah, there's two box sets for this. So we got the Veterans of the Long War, which is more sort of your traditional Chaos Force. So I think they mentioned there's 15 Terminators in here. You got the Legionaries, some Possessed, and then the Chaos Lord there as well. Um, and sorry, 10 Terminators in this and 5 Possessed. Um, and then there was the Dread Talons. Um, yeah, it's hard for me this one. Like the Dread Talons got Raptors in it, that new Jump Lord, Demon Prince, Cultists, Cursed Cultists, and Dark Commune. So I basically, yeah, I would need everything in this box. I don't have any of that for my Chaos Army, but at the same time, like Raptors are really one of the, like older models, and not something that's super keen on. Like I was really hoping we'd get new ones of them. Um, and then I like if they had been new, that would have been a no-brainer for me. But it does put me off a bit. And I don't really, all these sort of like half demon dudes and the cultist guys, like they're not as cool to me as just big chunky Terminators, and that sort of thing, and like the possessed. If I wanted to go on the sort of demon route, I might go more like that. The problem is I do have Legionaries and Terminators already. So yeah, I don't know. Like I'm fully expecting I will probably get one of these, but I don't know right now which one I would get. I will probably just and ah over this for a little while. But yeah, they spoke a little bit about the codex as well and stuff that comes with that. So you're looking at 8 detachments, all different sort of fighting styles, I guess, play styles. I suppose that's a better way to say it. They're included in here as well. It does sound like a decent book, but obviously until we get our hands on it, we won't really know quite all the ins and outs and everything to do with that. Necromunda, so they just showed a little brief teaser, like who knows what we're gonna get? Is this some new gang or something? But I can't say I'm particularly interested in Necromunda, to be honest with you. Something I'm definitely a lot more interested in though, Kill Team Termination. So we haven't even had the last box set that they showed yet with the Night Lords and the Mandrakes, but this one, yeah, we've got we got this one showing up already. So here we are. We got our Votan and some Brood Brothers. And I think this looks like a really cool little set. So the Votan, for me, if there's anything that lets them down, I think it's that they don't look dwarf enough for me. I would rather see that they had big beards flowing and that sort of thing. But and if you'd asked me, do I like the power armor guys more or these dudes in the coats more? I think I would have said the power armor guys, but seeing these guys off the bikes, like this, the different little weapon options and different styles of them, I think I do prefer these to sort of the general troops of the Votan. And yeah, some of these guys do look really cool. You got a bit more beard going on here, which is more in the right direction. Um, And there's the guy I like the most. Here he is, this dual pistol guy. So these were explained to be sort of almost like scouts, like they go ahead of the main Votan force and they execute, sort of do assassinations, sneaking in, disrupting things before the main force arrives. And so that sounds very cool, and like the play style of these guys sounds very interesting. Usually like traps and things you can set up. And I believe this guy gets to sort of pop off a few shots before things get going. So they sound cool. And then these guys, the Brood Brothers. So this is Cadians with an upgrade sprue. So yeah, these are looking pretty cool. Um, Lots of different little extra bits and pieces in here to upgrade these from the normal guys. Not so sure how I feel about the handbag man there. Uh, but the rest of them all look pretty cool. It'd be interesting to see if you could change it with something else. Maybe if you just don't want him to look like that. Uh, but yeah, so they're pretty cool, and they also come with this little brood coven here. So get some extra bits and pieces in here. Obviously, got things like the patriarch, which yeah, it's just a very cool model if you don't own it already, which I don't. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in both these teams, and I think this is a more interesting option than, say, like the Scouts and Striking Scorpions box set we had recently. Definitely something that appeals to me more, as does obviously the last box that they showed with the Chaos guys, because yeah, I love Chaos. Um, so I would be tempted to get both of those box sets, and this really does look cool. It does look to be a team that's going to need 2 boxes if you want to have all the options. But like in my case, for example, I've got a couple of extra Gene Stealer guys just laying about, and I'll probably just try and proxy them in some way rather than going out and grabbing an extra box of these. I'd rather put that money towards something else. But yeah, I think this looks pretty cool. And just some little small terrain pieces to go with it that sort of probably use for a bit more than just this, if you wish. So yeah, definitely that's probably my favorite thing from the reveals personally. Um, Aside from maybe this. So yeah, they did also reveal then the next edition of Age of Sigmar will be coming. So we had cinematic trailer. I won't show it now. It's quite actually surprisingly quite long. Um, but yeah, this sounds interesting. Very much like the new edition of 40k that we've just had. It's going to be a complete reset. So we are going to get indexes in the same way that we did with 40k. So they explain obviously every army is going to have indexes, but you're also still going to keep armies of renown from things like the Dawnbringer series. So you can still buy the Dawnbringer stuff and not worry about it being completely invalidated or anything like that. Um, but yeah, I think for me, that's all fine. Like I don't mind them resetting everything and sort of going back and looking at units and making all the sweeping changes that they need to make. Um, so they sort of really this is done with the intention of streamlining things, setting things back a bit, I guess, to make things more accessible to new players. And then also bring about things like your universal keywords, um, and yeah, like I guess just like they say, streamline things a little bit. The most interesting thing for me as well is that this is going to have, in the same way that 40k has the combat patrols, this is going to have spearhead. So you'll be able to pick up a spearhead box, and that gives you a small army that you can use with special rules for that army, and you can fight against other spearheads. And why I find this so interesting personally, and it's the same reason with 40k as well, is there's plenty of armies out there where I'd love to get those models and I'd love to play with them. I'd love to paint them up, but I don't want to collect a whole army. And I think this is perfect for that. So something like Seraphon, some Seraphon would be really cool, but I don't want to have our entire army of that. And so, yeah, like something like this. I just think this game mode is really interesting. So, yeah, they did also mention that they would be bringing out like index cards and that sort of thing um, for the new edition as well. But I think probably a time to learn a lesson from what happened with 40k here. Some of those cards that they released physically were already out of date, or in the case of the factions that appear in the starter box, which in this case would be the Stormcast and the Skaven. Those cards are likely to be replaced very quickly. So yeah, I would certainly think twice before picking those up. They will be available digitally, and I would say that's probably the way to go. You could always go and get them printed out, if you really wanted to have them in front of you. And like with 40k, some people made some really cool things on YouTube where they put those all the sort of cards and things together and the indexes together in really nicely presented ways. And I'm sure there'll be someone doing the same for Age of Sigmar, and just making that a bit easier for everyone. But yeah, I think with that, certainly consider saving your money there, at the very least, just based on how things went last time. You would like to think that perhaps they learnt some lessons from that. But yeah, I certainly wouldn't be willing to part with the money to find out if that was the case or not personally. But yeah, so much was revealed, to be honest, about the new edition and the way that's going to work. The sort of little changes, um, things like changing from the weapon range to having a 3-inch combat range. All sorts of little details were packed in there about how things will work. So if you are interested in all the nitty gritty, I would recommend just watching the stream, just listening to what they had to say about it, because there's definitely some interesting bits and pieces. But I'm sure we will get more over the coming sort of weeks and months as well. But yeah, thank you for watching, and yeah, I will have a new video going up soon as well about something else really interesting that was revealed at Adepticon. So I hope you join me for that too. Thank you very much and take care.